Mic check. Can y'all hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Able to go live. Audio fine, video not. Well, at least y'all can hear me. Again, I'm on the back porch, so y'all gonna have to bear with me on the video. Hold on. Okay, I don't know what I just did. Let's close that. What's going up, y'all? If not, y'all just gonna have to bear with me tonight. I'm trying to get a live in for some of y'all's, because I know when it comes to recruiting, FSU has been looking pretty good on the recruiting trail. FSU's been looking. It's been a good week in terms of recruiting. Let me back up some. If the video gets better, just let me know. I think it's getting better, so we're just gonna kick it, and we probably starting quarterback has decided to run his mouth. We're gonna talk about that for a little bit. He's running his mouth for better or worse. Everybody's got the state of Florida, I think, passed a bill or something that allocates like $20 million to the sports programs by the university. I don't think anything's wrong with what Florida State's doing in terms of essentially the wording of these NIL contracts, in my opinion. At some point, the schools have to protect themselves. If college football is going to be ran like a business going forward, then it's going to be treated like a business. And FSU's putting certain verbiage in contracts, essentially telling players like, yo, you're entitled to this as long as you're committed, or however that's going. You guys can go read the article for yourself. They gave a couple examples. Me personally, I ain't got no issue with it. You treat players like employees, because that's essentially what this is. That's essentially what this is. Universities have to protect themselves. If you think FSU is the only one or the only school smart enough to start trying to protect themselves with the contracts, I think you're fooling yourself. So for me, not a big deal when it comes to that. Let's talk about let's do a little quick let's do a little quick roll call real quick. Shout out to everybody. Hit the like button, y'all. Share the video. We live. But I got 727 Seminole, Mr. Wolf's in the building, KCD, Pistino. Terrell was good. 904. What's up? Hold on. Irv Wallace. Irv Wallace says, so far it seems Norvell has focused more on recruiting, and the overall team has helped recruiting and better recruiting coaches. How do I say this? I don't think nothing has happened so far, in my personal opinion, has differentiated from anything that we've seen in Norvell's previous years. Again, and that's just my opinion on the subject. Mike Norvell has always, come June, July, August, he has always pretty much got the bulk of his commitments in this time span. I see the numbers falling, which tells me maybe the video's not too good right now. So, again, that's my apologies. I'm going to just go with it as long as I can. And if the video don't pick up, it is what it is. It's the best I can do for y'all until I get settled in my new place. But like I was saying, I don't think anything's different. I don't think, like, in my opinion, and this isn't me trying to be a downer. This isn't me trying to be negative. This isn't me, this is what he does. By the end of July, the beginning of August, Mike Norvell's recruiting class will pretty much be in place. It always has been, with the exception of last year because you went 2-10. But he recruits the bulk of his classes around this time. This is par for the course. This is what he does. The big question for Mike Norvell and this new staff, right, is simply going to be, how do they close in December, in my humble opinion. I'm not telling people not to be excited about the pickups. I think FSU's got some good pickups, especially skill position wise. So far, they have really. I would argue don't need to. I mean, maybe you want to try to get another running back in the class. I know they still got a big time corner out there that's being crystal ball to Florida State. We'll see if they can close the deal on that, or when does that guy decide to commit. But I would argue that the skill positions don't really need to be addressed at this point. FSU has nailed wide receivers, DB. Like you got your quarterback in the class now, and Jaden O'Neal. He's not one of the big fish, but he's a good, solid prospect. My criticism would simply be, where's the guys up front? If there's any criticism that I have, it's where are the guys up front right now? Where's your offensive lineman? You got a couple defense. You got some defensive linemen in the class. Don't get it wrong, but where's your impact guys? Right? FSU went out there, and as far as receiver go, they got some impact guys. They got legacy. Devin Carter, got him back. He was committed, decommitted, committed to Auburn. Now he's decommitted from Auburn, and he's back. Let's hope he's back for good this time, right? You got him. They went out and got what's his name? Jason Lopez out of Shamadad. That came to a surprise for some. Miami fans, a lot of Miami people thought he was going there. To me, that would be a recruitment I would continue to watch. Anytime you're talking about a kid out of Shamadad, I mean, we saw it a couple years ago, man, with the big three out of Shamadad, Patterson, Trader, and Jeremiah Smith, and they all played, in my opinion, they played games with Florida State. None of them obviously ended up here, but at one point, FSU was in the lead, allegedly, for all of those guys. Not saying that this guy's going to do the same thing. I would simply say that that's a recruitment that I would not consider dead in the water as of right now. But regardless, you got Bennett at wide receiver. You got good guys at the skill position. Man, they got a big-time tight end that I'm really impressed by. And I think Xavier Tiller is his name. I don't have my dual screens, right? So a lot of this stuff is just coming off the top of the dome, guys. I didn't write any notes for this. I love the tight end prospect. Chris Thompson has been good the last couple years after starting off absolutely trash. He's been here 5 years, by the way, like the rest of these coaches, with the exception of the new guys. And Chris Thompson had a run of Brian Courtney, Jackson West, and Jabril Powers. But the last couple years, with Lofton, Landon Thomas, and now this guy, tight end recruiting is looking like it's taking a step up. So shout out to Chris Thompson. You got to give credit where credit is due, right? So you got to give credit to that. So again, man, good skill position guys right now, and I'm excited for it. I got to give it a thumbs up. But at the end of the day, if we're changing the trajectory of the program, I need big guys in the middle of my offensive defense that can change the game. And I don't know if we have that right now. I don't think we do. I don't know what the board on those positions look like, but we need to get some guys up front, some big nasties up front that really make me then say, okay, I'm impressed with the way this class is shaping up. As of right now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna shit on it. But I'm not going to also sit here and say this is the greatest recruiting class or recruiting job Norvell. No, it's none of that. He's doing a good job. But I'm not going to get overexcited about signing a bunch of receivers, though they are good and all of that stuff. At the end of the day, it's time to focus on the trenches. That's really just how I look at it. Again, man, hit my like button. Again, the audio might not be the best, or the video might be laggy. I understand that. I'm outside, and just sitting here chilling. Gonna talk a little bit of stuff, but let me get back to TC, man. TC out here running his mouth. What do you guys? If you in the comments, let me get to the comments real quick. Comments are going fast. What's going on? D. Thompson, who's changed his name to my passport, my life. Brandon, was good. Antoine, what's going on? Marcus, what's up? Antoine says Novel's gotten commits in the summer. He can't hold on to the good with. That's really where, yeah, that's where the criticism lies. Again, Novell gets the meat of his class committed, and usually, to his credit, the meat and potatoes of his class usually stays committed. The problem has routinely been, in December, the big fish, the potential program changers, the guys that move the needle, the KJ Boldens, the Keldrick Falks, and you can go on and on. Those guys, they don't finish strong. They don't land the big fish down the stretch. So that's really the biggest criticism that you could have. But as of right now, par for the course. Par for the course. But back to TC. I'm also reading comments. I don't know if it's because I'm on a different platform, because I'm on my phone. Some of y'all have changed y'all names, or maybe y'all just have different like YouTube names or something. I don't know. I'm just reading over some comments real quick. Out on the porch chilling, Marcus. Out on the porch chilling tonight. Thomas Castellanos, man, he's out here running his yapper. Again, I don't know how y'all feeling about that one. But Thomas Castellanos is out here. He's talking big. He's talking big. My opinion on it? I don't have a problem with trash talk. I promise you I don't. One of my favorite players in the NFL was the ultimate trash talker, and that was Terrell Owens. And I was always of the belief, if you don't like what Terrell got to say, I have three things. Well, really, two of them are kind of the same. And then, ultimately, I don't have a problem with trash talk. What I do have a problem with, he's here to save job. That's insane. That's acknowledging that your head coach has done a piss poor job. I thought that was kind of crazy. What's up, Jeff? I thought that was certain thing. And then talking about Bama's cool and all. I ain't got no problem with you telling Bama, like, hey, we coming out there game one and we about to hit y'all in the mouth. I do have a problem with invoking Nick Saban's name into it. Saying Nick Saban can't save you. Last time I checked, man, Nick Saban, and none of those championships that he won, lined up, put on a helmet, put on pads, and was out there on a football field. Those players are still going to be out there. You bringing up Nick Saban does nothing for you. In my opinion, he could have said the same thing without dropping Nick Saban, and I had very little issue with it. I will say this. This is kind of the bigger issue I have. One, you're coming off of 2-10. Two, yes, do you want your quarterback to have confidence? Absolutely. I have no problem with him having confidence. What I do have a problem with is him talking as if he's not on his third team in 4 years. There isn't a major narrative out there coming from his own teammates, by the way. His own teammates are now looking at what he said, and they're talking about it, about how he quit on Boston College. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. people on that team are co-signing that. He's talking a lot for a guy, again, who's on his third team in 4 years, whose play on the field is about as inconsistent as can be. I would have felt better if, like, Deuce Robinson said this stuff. Person, like, be careful. It's cool to talk, but you gotta, like, again, I brought up Terrell Owens. One thing about Terrell Owens, you better guard him. Terrell Owens is gonna give you over a buck and a couple touchdowns every game. Like, Terrell Owens was that player. Can you say the same thing about Thomas Castellanos? I'm not sure I can. I would have been okay with shutting the hell up this entire offseason, getting out there, putting in the work, showing up on game day, and doing what you got to do. Ultimately, does it change the outcome of games? At the end of the day, that man got to get out there and he got to play football. Does it give bulletin board material to Bama? Sure. I'm sure, guys are going to be more, I won't say they'll be more focused on the game per se. What I will say is they will be looking to bust his head, as the quarterback. He better keep his head on the swivel because they'll look to take shots. But yeah. Yeah, well, I know you don't care, Jeff, and that's fine, You're right. We were 2-10. It's a new year. It is a new year, and everybody starts the season off of 0-0. So that's the one thing that's working in his favor. It's going to be very interesting to see if he goes out there against Alabama and is absolutely trash. But ultimately, that's your quarterback, and he's got a little bit of bravado about him. My only question is it warranted? That's my only question. I ain't got no problem, man. Talk your trash. If you can back it up, man, talk your trash. But everybody's not Terrell Owens. Everybody's not Jared Verse. I see somebody talking about Jared Verse. Everybody's not Muhammad Ali or Roy Jones. Sometimes trash talkers get humbled. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Let's see some more comments. Mr. Wolf says, yeah, but we know the truth about Boston College situation. That's the thing. Others are just going to use it to downplay his abilities. And I think that's the very idea going into this game. He said, I better have a shaving waiver. Don't worry about it. I'm on leave. No shaving waiver over here. DJ would never say that. Well, no, he wouldn't. At least to DJ's credit, he knew he was. I don't want to say he knew he sucked, but he didn't run his mouth. Again, I get it, man. There's two parts of it. I don't have a problem with trash talk. How Jameis Winston, y'all know he's famous for his, which I don't consider that trash talk. What Jameis did, his motivational speech at before that Clemson game. Guys talk trash, man, but usually you can back it up. So ultimately, this doesn't become an issue if Thomas Castellanos can back it up, right? If he can back it up, then it doesn't matter whether people like it, love it, hate it. If he backs it up, it's irrelevant. And the fan base will get behind him. My worry for him is if he has a bad game. He's already going to be on a short lease for the fan base as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of people didn't want him as a quarterback anyway. And I'll consider myself in that group of people that didn't want him here as a quarterback. And that's my own opinion on that one. You go out there and you talk an off season, awesome. You go out there and you throw 11 for 20 a buck 50, 2 interception. Like, you go out there and completely shit the bed against Alabama, and you've done nothing, right, but bring that criticism on yourself. You've done nothing but bring that criticism on yourself. So he's playing a dicey game. At the end of the day, man, we'll see how it turns out for Thomas Castellanos. I disagree. Yes, last year's team lacked any leadership. I don't know. I think people confuse certain things with lead. I don't think running your mouth in an interview is leadership. That doesn't mean he's not putting in the work. I don't know what I think one of the good things that was going into for Florida State this offseason that TC kind of erased, in my opinion, was that there was a lot of unknowns. And the reason I say that's a good thing is because Bama knows as much as, we know. And maybe you could have caught Bama slipping. Now, it remains to be seen how good that Alabama team is. But at the end of the day, Alabama's still, I don't want to, they still have the talent to be a good team. We'll see what DeBoer does with that. We'll see how the new quarterback looks. And, Bama has its own questions going into the season. What I do know about Bama is they still have talent, a lot of it. And if you were to line up position by position, you probably got, not probably, they have more talent than you do. So FSU was going kind of under the radar, in my opinion, this offseason. And now TC, you've put the light on you. But, hey, maybe some people shine the brightest when the light's the brightest. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out for him. I think Bama will have a hard time stopping Deuce. But see, that goes back to the quarterback. Maybe you're right. Maybe Bama doesn't have anybody to match up against Deuce Robinson. That may be accurate. Is the quarterback going to be able to get Deuce Robinson the football? That's the bigger question I have. Right? That's the bigger question I have. Is the quarterback going to be able to do that? Like, if you can't tell, and I'll be in the minority here, but I'm going to stick to my guns, I'm not high on him. Now, in Gus Malzahn's system, we talk about running and what that entails. Does he have the opportunity to be good? Sure. But again, the guy's on his third team in 4 years. Talking about Thomas Castellanos. Like, that's not... Good players don't hit the transfer portal 3 times. Good players can hit the portal once, maybe twice, depending on the situation. Show me the transfer portal player that's been in the transfer portal 3 times. That's on his third team, and he's expected to come in here and do what, So I'm gonna stick to my opinion on that one. Is he a fit? Sure. But there's a lot of things that's going to have to happen. I live in Bama. I'm driving 6 hours to the game. But the game's in Tallahassee. Driving Tallahassee, that's what's up, man. I won't be able to make it. Bama's a 9-3 team this year, maybe 8-4. Don't think Bama's some machine. I'm not even claiming that they are a machine. I'm not even claiming that he was that they are a machine. I'm simply saying they have talent, His first team was UCF. He went from UCF to Boston College to Florida State. Gus is a very difficult offense. Gus is a very difficult offense and very first game of the season to deal with. And TC is going to be trouble to deal with. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I would say what bodes well for him, depending on, right? can we establish a consistent? If we can establish a consistent running game, now that read option, now that speed option, all that stuff right there, the RPO game, all that stuff then opens up because now you have to account for the running backs. And Thomas Castellanos gets a chance in one-on-one situations, maybe with a linebacker or a lineman, to pull, keep the ball, and do some things with it. If you can establish the run game, and that's with any offense, so nothing groundbreaking that I'm saying right here. If you can establish a running game, then a lot of the rest of that stuff opens up. Who's running back one? That's a great question. I stand on that. I don't want Chroma to have all this responsibility put on him initially. I think the dude out of Oklahoma, I think he's probably going to start this year off at running back number one, if I had to guess. But Gus is very versatile in that, where he can absolutely do running back by committee, or he'll get him a bell cow. So it's all dependent on how Gus evaluates that room, in my opinion. Hold on, I'm trying to go back to the comments, guys. POLK, I think the fit is perfect, and Deuce and Squirrel is going to be a problem. That's what's up. Again, as long as we can get him the ball, then I like the matchup with Deuce. Because you don't need an extremely accurate quarterback, right? You just got to get the ball in Deuce's vicinity, and that 6'6" frame should be able to make some plays. Squirrel's going to be a little bit more different, right? He's your deep threat. You want to get him vertical. Ben, I feel like that's kind of racist. You think Cam Davis is going to be a beast? This is going to be a year for him. Cam Davis is going to have to work for it. Because you still got Roy Dell. I forget about Roy Dell. The staff seems like Roy Dell, so they're going to give him an opportunity. Talked about an Oklahoma transfer. And then you got Cam and Chroma. You still got Singleton back there. You still got Keziah Holmes back there, who I don't think any of us expect much from Keziah Holmes. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I have a question. The Bucs Callers have a great running back room or receiver room. Last year or the year before that is the, I guess, question. I would have to look up the stats, Mr. Wolf. I'll be honest with you, I don't watch Boston College like that. So for me to tell you off the top of my head, I couldn't answer that question for you. I'm more excited about the defense. Talked about that going into this year, that I'm more excited about the defense. Antoine says Tony White's defense will be a big part of this. If he can give Bama's... comments jumped on me. If he can give Bama's new QB problems, we have a chance. Well, it's always the thing, right? You can force turnovers, create short fields, absolutely. You can condense the game, put us in favorable positions field-wise, then I agree with you. And I do like Tony White's defense, or what I think it's going to be. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out. I mean, since we're on the Bama game, I haven't talked much about the Bama game. In my opinion, if you want to beat Alabama, I think there's some guy we're gonna have to have some guys emerge that we're not expecting. offensively and defensively, for that matter. And then you're going to have some guys that you're expecting big things to actually play. Like if we're strictly talking defense, like a guy like James Williams, got him over here with a bunch of hype. He's going to have to be. I don't want to say he has to be Jared Verse, because that's huge expectations. Like Jared Verse he doesn't grow on trees. You don't just get a Jared Verse. But he's got to be disruptive, man. He's got to be able to put pressure. Still staying on the defensive side of the ball, Amari Williams is a huge X factor. How does he play in year one? Or year two for him, but year one as a defensive end. So guys like that are going to have to emerge. And I think in game one, Amari Williams is going to have to show up if he's even put in that position. I'll be interested to see how they use him. A guy like Darrell Jackson, he's going to have to be a force and a presence on the interior. Because you can talk about Bama's quarterback all you want, and a lot of people don't think highly of, I think it's Ty Simpson, I think is Bama's quarterback going into the year, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name. But it's irrelevant if Darrell Jackson don't clog the middle up and Bama can just run the ball. Then that makes that quarterback's job a whole lot easier, doesn't it? Same thing we were saying about TC. If we can run the ball, TC can be successful. Well, it's no different for any quarterback. If you can run the ball, your job gets a whole lot easier. So a guy like Darrell Jackson has to be all of 6'6", 330 pounds, or whatever he weighs in. Right? He has to be that. Those corners, you got to see who emerges there. Do we still have Kyle Moore drops? Nope. Offensively, man, the one room that I'm not worried about, believe it or not, is that tight end room. I think that's one thing that helps TC as well. That can play into his advantage if he can utilize his tight ends. Because he's got, obviously we're talking about Landon Thomas, but we got a very underrated guy that no one's talking about, and that's a tight end out of UCF. Who I want to say he had about, and again, I don't have my computer, so I can't pull up his stats right now, but anybody can fact check me. I believe, is it Randy Pittman? Ryan Pittman or whatever his name is? He had about 500-600 yards receiving, I believe, last year. So I'm not worried about that tight end room. Obviously, then you got Chase Lofton, that's the freshman. Still got Biscuit for whatever that's worth. Tight end room is probably one room that I'm not overly concerned with. I'm not concerned with that at all. And then, of course, if we go to the offensive side of the ball, right? All of those new old offensive linemen are gonna have to play, right? They're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to show it. They're gonna have to be everything that we hope they are. They're gonna have to do that. Linebackers, you brought in 2 transfer backers, and Thompson and Herring. Of course, Blake Nicholson's back. We saw Omar Graham. Says Omar Graham could be good this year. And then I don't know what Juice Cryer's. I know he had a short season last year due to injury. I don't know what his recovery is looking like or how that rehab's going. But he also got Juice. I think you have a full linebacker. I'm not like defensively, offensively. I talked about tight end room. I'll be honest with you. I don't think linebacker room is a worry this year. I don't think the linebacker room is a major worry. Irv says, I'm scared of our offense. I don't disagree with you. Not only do you have to hope that every transfer portal, this is a whole different can of worms you can open up, because you know how that works with the transfer portal. Not everybody you get is a hit. But not only are you hoping that every offensive lineman you get is a hit, you also have to hope that they all stay healthy. Because if one guy goes down, you've lost... one of your major depth pieces, I thought, was Jalen Early. He transferred. I don't know who your backups are. I don't know who your backups are on the offensive line. Do we think Simmons is ready? What about Otto? Otto's coming in the year 2. He was a freshman last year. You got a guy like Jacob Rizzi, right? How does he look? Is a guy like Jonathan Daniels ready to play? Is a guy like, we talked about Simmons, Manasseh. You got guys on the offensive line in that depth chart who have major question marks around them. Major question marks. And it's hard for O-linemen to stay healthy for an entire year. That's like a knock on wood, luck of the draw type of deal. If guys can stay healthy, I think our O-line will be okay. What's the likelihood, I would argue? I think injuries on the O-line should be concerning for most. The question's going to be, how is Herb Hand developing those other guys? I don't have any questions of Herb Hand per se. I would like to see him, bring in some recruits, but depth is probably should be a concern. Depth should probably be a concern on the O-line. EMG was good. If the O-line is decent, Sawchuk, that's the Oklahoma transfer, is going to be a problem. He gave us fits. If you remember that bowl game we had in Oklahoma a couple years ago, he gave us fits that game. They better get Simmons ready. It's time for those young guys to develop. I agree. You got to get some of those young offensive linemen. You got to get them ready. It's time to get some of those guys ready. Don't disagree there. I was thinking 8 wins, possibly 9 with a bowl. I don't want to get into my season predictions just yet. I'm going to wait till that's closer to the season. So, yeah, I'll leave that one there. So, offensively, I think the biggest question marks are quarterback. I'm gonna stand on that until he shows me otherwise. TC, for me, is you got to prove it for me to believe it. And then O-line depth are the biggest question mark. I think the receiving room's good. Boggs continues to get a bunch of hype. Deuce, Squirrel. I mean, we haven't talked about guys like Elijah Moore. We haven't talked about guys like we also got that other transfer from North Carolina. I don't have much expectation from him, if I'm being quite honest with you. If he can give you 300 yards receiving this year, I think that would be a plus. Like, I don't have a bunch of expectations. I think his name is Blackwell. Not a lot of expectations there. And maybe that helps him. Maybe he can go under the radar and be consistent or whatever. Lewayne McCoy, Camden Fryer. I think he got a room. In that wide receiver room. That all is going to start with the quarterback. And again, some of y'all's names are different because I'm not on my typical streaming app because I'm using my phone. So, Room the Para, what's good with you? I think Chroma is running back 1 by the end of the season. I would probably agree with that. Antoine. I don't think you have to throw him to the fire initially. Now, if he's the best, then he's the best. I want to say that. Like, I know I've said I wouldn't throw Chroma out there running back 1, game 1. I let him ease himself into that position. But if he's simply the best one you got, then he's the best one you got. But I do think by the end of the season, as that room weeds itself out, which was going to happen, right? The room is going to weed itself out. You're going to see who fits what Gus wants to do more so than others. Chroma has a chance to be the guy. What's up, No Sir, Not Me? Oh, shoot. My bad. We need some of those backups against two sub teams after Bama. I'm scrolling comments because I saw a question that I think I missed and that I wanted to answer, but I can't find it now. I think someone asked about Clemson. If you could ask that question again, because I can't find your comment. I had glanced at it. I was gonna, or maybe I'm just seeing things. Oh, please, what do you think of Clemson? There it is right there from Spencer Taylor. It says, what do you think of Clemson versus FSU? I think Clemson's the best team in the ACC this year. Clemson's got a hell of a defensive line. Klubnik, there's a lot of expectations on Klubnik. I don't know if I'm sold on Klubnik per se. But I think Clemson's defense is going to be legit. So, yeah. FSU's going to have their chin strap buckled for that one. Boggs is going to be a problem. So the transfer from Houston, I forget his name. I think his last name's Wilson. He said Boggs has been the best receiver that he's gone against in practice. In my opinion, there's more stress on Tony White than Gus this year. That's an interesting take. Nostalgia. I can see where you're coming from because FSU, just historically speaking, is more of a defensive-minded. Like, we were always known for our defenses. However, where I will disagree with you on that take is our offense was so anemic last year. It was legendary bad. One of the worst I've ever seen, and that's not just at Florida State, but period. That offense, I think Gus is brought in here to turn that around ASAP. That's where I would disagree with you. That's where I would disagree with that take. I understand the whole Tony White thing. I think personnel-wise, they've done a great job defensively getting the type of personnel to run the 3-3-5. But I think the offense it was so bad that I think Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell, Mike Norvell's still known as an offensive coach. I think they're under a microscope. Like, that offense has to show immediate dividends. I don't know what that is. I'm not saying the offense needs to go out there and average 40 points a game, but they got to do something because it was that bad last year. Black Boy says, I'm not concerned with the defense at all. FSU has athletes to make that scheme work. I think they've done a good job getting the right body types for the defense, specifically on the defensive line and linebacker rooms. I think the secondary will take care of itself. I still am curious to see who's the top corner, like how that whole cornerback room shakes out. I'm very interested to see how that plays. Which got talked about Wilson already, and then of course you got Q, and you got I'm forgetting his name. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Come on, tell me the corner I'm forgetting, guys. Not Earl Little, the other one. Damn, bug was on me. Edwin Joseph. A lot of people are expecting big things from Edwin this year. So they got DBs, and then of course you got Zay, Tom. You got guys that they brought in. Jabril Rawls is another one. So I was thinking about Edwin. I wasn't thinking about Rawls, but Rawls is another one. They've got guys, not Lester. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Charles Lester was in the transfer portal next year or by the end of the season. It just seems like he's not. His name isn't being mentioned like some of us thought. But you still got guys like Kai Bates. You got Jamari Howard coming off of that injury that he had last year. Ricky Knight. Like, you got a bunch of bodies. Like, you can't say enough about what Pat Surtain does in that DB room. You got the bodies. Now, they're all young with not a lot of experience. Hell, you brought Shaheem Brown back at that. We'll see how that plays out. He did not have a great year last year. Maybe he has a bounce-back year. But they've got a lot of guys. Hey, shout out to Nostalgia with the $20 super chat. I appreciate that, man. Again, if I was on my, I dropped the video for you. I can't do it. But he says, keep bringing the live streams. Hey, it's a hectic time for me. If you're a service member, this is the PCS season. This is the where you move, and I'm in the middle of moving, so that's just why I haven't been able to go as live as much as I want to. My house is completely empty in there. All my furniture is being shipped to El Paso because that's where I'm headed next. So these live streams are becoming off my phone for the foreseeable future till I get settled into my new house. Shout out to Seminole fan with the $5. He says, do you think Tyreek Mallory will be a standout? It's hard to judge those freshmen. That's a freshman receiver, if I'm not mistaken. And especially when, again, we talked about the receiver room already. I think they're going to lean heavy on the transfers. Squirrel, Deuce, and even the UNC kid. I think that they're going to give him an opportunity. And then Boggs has been showing out. They almost can't keep him off of the field. Right? They almost can't keep him off the field as much as they've been talking about Jalen Boggs. And then, again, Elijah Moore, LaWayne McCoy. They doesn't mean that Mallory ain't good. I just don't know if he can crack the rotation as a freshman. Maybe have a red shirt in him, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out for him. Yo, what's up, Tony? Okay, KC, what's up, bro? It's good. Like I said, if I was on my others, I probably would have said KC. Gotcha. You can hit the like button for me. Subscribe, all that. Most of y'all subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I don't know why not. What are you doing? In the words of Jalen Ramsey. But subscribe that, share the video, hit that like button for your boy. So yeah, I think we gotta, like, if we want to talk more about young players, like on the defense, a guy like Tylen Lee, man, he's built to play now. Remember, he earned that 5-star on 3. Can that be a guy that, emerges? Freshman defensive linemen tend to be more impactful if they're good enough than a lot of other positions. If he's good enough, a guy like that, man, could be very crucial to your team. Kevin Wynn. That's another guy, body type. We talk about, Daryl Jackson having to be that plug up the middle. And I know, Terrence Knighton says that Daryl Jackson's versatile to play along the whole D line. That makes me think that Kevin Wynn's gonna have a bunch of opportunities in the middle of that defense, man, to have to be that guy. So FSU's got some nice young players. I don't like talking about the young player. It's not that I don't like talking about the young players. It's more so when we start talking about the young guys, it's like, with playing young players comes mistakes. That's just inevitable. You can't get around that, right? You can't. Young guys are going to make mistakes, be out of position, not know the play call sometime. Can FSU afford, is the question I would have. Can they afford that? Can they afford the mistakes? They might not have a choice, right? And they might not have a choice. And that's just the facts of it. They might not have a choice. Back to the Gus and Tony White combo. You nailed it with the FSU pass. Always been about defense. It needs to stay that way. I don't care if we only score 18. I hear you. I hear you. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But for this year, I think the offense is under a microscope, right? That is the big thing right there. I don't disagree with the macro outlook that you have there about FSU's always been about defense, and that's just historically the thing. But for this upcoming year, I really think the focus is on the offense. These corners outside of Wilson scare me. I don't know if I think scare might be a strong word for me. I don't know if they scare me, but there's question marks. No lie. Can't deny that. There's question marks for sure. No, sir, not me. I really think 27 being a special year for FSU. This season will be a good one, though. So you're looking at next year. You think next year is going to be the year? Okay. Do you think Cam Davis will pan out? I said it last year, and Cam has a chance to show me differently. But I just think at a position like running back, if you saw it, I'm not saying he had to be outstanding, but show glimpses. And to me, when it comes to Cam, I just don't see he's built like a bowling ball, right? He looks the part. I didn't see, he looks like a guy on one-on-one situations, man. He shouldn't be getting tackled. He looks like a guy who should always at least break the first tackle, right? And he didn't do that as a freshman. So I have concerns about that going forward because he's not a burner. Cam Davis isn't a guy who's going to, go for 80. It's not his game. He's a guy that you're going to feed the ball and he's going to make giving his body type, he's a guy that you want to feed the ball and he's going to punish defenses. 5-6 yards a pop, just hard to tackle. But he wasn't that as a freshman. Now you can argue, well, that's just the old line wasn't good, but Cam Davis had opportunities in one-on-one situations and he didn't get it done. I mean, we all remember game 1 against Georgia Tech. He's got to pass out in the flat. If he catches that, he's one-on-one, I think, with a corner, if I remember correctly. But he doesn't catch it. He doesn't catch it. Now, it is what it is right there, but little things like that. If we would have saw more things like that, I think that would have been more of a positive sign for Cam. Nostalgia, or KCS, my man, with $9.99. Says, thanks for your service. Thank you for thank you for your support and everything that I do. I just appreciate the support, man. Support and the love. Appreciate you. I think the QB to running back transition will take some time for Cam. And that's another thing. The man, similar to Cam Akers, right? He was a high school quarterback. So you could argue he's still learning that position, man. He's still learning that position. They shouldn't have had him out there as much as they're needed. Totally. There's probably some truth to that too. However, he was out there, and he was given in position to make plays at times and didn't do it. We can argue whether he should have been out there or not, but at the end of the day, he had opportunities and he didn't capitalize. So you have to question that. In the 12-team playoff, just bring a fire defense. We don't need offense-style points anymore. Disappointing because Cam was one that never... Yeah, he was, for sure. And again, the book's not closed on Cam Davis. Last year could have just been, a tough year for everybody, obviously. So I don't want to come off as if I'm saying Cam Davis is, like, trash or he's done or he can't get it done. I'm simply stating I didn't see anything that would make me go, he might not have had a good year, but he's got, these traits about him. I don't think Cam, as it stands right now, I don't think Cam is built like that. Like, yeah, Noles says Akers was different. Akers was different. Akers for sure was a different caliber of athlete. Like, I don't think Cam is that caliber of athlete. Cam is going to figure it out this year, but I hope so. I mean, despite me, people want to claim that I'm like negative, which I don't think I'm negative. I'm just honest. I'm not rooting against any player. I don't think TC is a good quarterback. That doesn't mean I'm rooting against him. I'm just giving my opinion on him. If TC goes out there and he balls this year, I'm going to be right here waving the TC flag. Like that. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. But I got to give my honest assessment until proven otherwise. I've always done it and always will do it and will continue to do it. I don't follow the mob. I'm going to tell you how I honestly feel about players. Is it me or is FSU recruiting more smaller stature wide receivers? So in this class, they're going for speed. If you can't tell, they are recruiting speed in this wide receiver class for sure. They are definitely going with more vertical speed. Not a lot of big bodies. I agree with that. They're going with speed. Jason Lopez. I don't know why I said Joseph Lopez. That's my brother. Jason Lopez, Bennett, Devin Carter. Like, they're going for guys with more wiggle, more acceleration, things of that nature. So yeah, not a lot of big body Deuce Robinson types for sure. What's up, Central Texas? Kane, he says, what's up? It's been a minute. I've been on your live feed. What's up, Central Texas? Kane. And then Antoine says, Chroma being there is good for Cam. They're close, so they can push each other. Sure. Appreciate that, Terrell. Yeah, they're going with speed. They're going with, and that's not a bad. Because you look at last year's class and how they closed on it. They went for more. Somebody mentioned Tyreek Mallory earlier, bigger receiver. They went for more guys like that. You still have, again, Elijah Moore's a X factor, right? You talk about big body guys. Elijah Moore is still on this team. Freshman. I believe he kept his redshirt status because we begged for him to play more, but ultimately I think they made the right decision in probably not playing him. So they got some big receivers on the roster. Let's get some guys to complement that with some speed. Given what we've seen from TC, you're totally right, but the hope is there. And then O-line can make Cam Davis. 2016 ETN got ACC accolades over Dalvin. Put Dalvin on his Clemson 16 O-line. Well, you don't get me to talk about ETN. But yeah, ETN had a squad around him all around. William says, I hope Sperry wins backup quarterback position because Brooklyn scares me. LOL. I still have that Duke game nightmare. I think both of them scare me. I know Kevin Sperry's the new toy, so the most popular position on the football team is always the backup quarterback. So Kevin Sperry, until he goes in there and he throws 5 interceptions, everybody's going to love him. That's another thing. We talk about O-line depth. God forbid Thomas Castellanos gets hurt. Just leave that there. God forbid that happens. If Thomas Castellanos gets hurt, I don't want to see Kevin Sperry out there. Don't want to see Brock Glenn out there. Or anybody else for that matter. So let's hope the 5'7", 190-pound quarterback stays healthy. I've seen people saying that the ceiling for this team is 8-4. You agree? Again, I don't want to get into my record predictions just yet, but I think 8-4 would be a good season, given the makeup of this team and the youth of this team. I think FSU is going to be counting on some young players. I spoke about that earlier in the stream. You're counting on young players to make a... I felt like in this transfer portal class, there was a lot of thinking going into the offense. Well, they had to address the O-line, and they did that, to their credit. They had to. I think we can all agree that if Brock is ever the starting QB for FSU, it's over for Mike. If Kevin Sperry's the starting quarterback in his freshman year, it's over for Mike. I'm just saying. That they did bring in a transfer. I don't know if that's any better, man. Again, if TC gets hurt, we're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. If TC gets hurt, I'm telling you, man, we're in a bind if Thomas Castellanos gets hurt. You can play Russian roulette with the backup quarterbacks at that point, because I don't even know if it matters. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think it matters. If TC gets injured and Brock can't bring the wins to FSU, say bye to Tokars and get Dilly back. Well, you're not getting Dilly back unless you're talking about Mike Norvell getting fired and you bringing Dilly back as a head coach, which would be interesting. I've avoided that conversation. I've avoided the conversation of who would I want to replace Norvell. I think Dillingham is a perfect fit for Arizona State. I think coaching is all about fit. Look, I know what Kenny Dillingham did at Arizona State. I just don't think he has the same effect at Florida State. But I understand why Florida State fans like Kenny Dillingham. I get it. I really do. I just don't know if that translates to Tallahassee. I actually like Brock. Just feel like he didn't get to have a chance because of that O-line. I mean, it just remains to be seen, man. Gus Malzahn can coach pocket passers. He has done it before. My problem is when you look at Gus Malzahn's offenses with more of a traditional passer, his offenses usually aren't as explosive. And his teams as a whole usually, you could argue, underperform. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Gus Malzahn to replace Mike. I don't know. I don't know about that either, man. I don't know about that one. Will we want Dilly as head coach? I don't think he can recruit. That's my point, Antoine. He's perfect at Arizona State. Him coming back to Tallahassee, I don't think that's a fit. I don't want Dilly as a head coach, just as QB coach. Well, you're not getting him from Arizona State then. You're not getting him from Arizona. He's the head coach, so he's not leaving a head coaching job to come be the quarterback coach. Like, that's not going to happen. Dilly doesn't like the east side of the United States. Tony White would be an interesting hire. I've been on the record of saying FSU needs to go more of a... Now, historically, FSU has always gone with the offensive-minded coach as their head coach. Bobby was an offensive-minded coach who let Mickey Andrews do what he wanted to on defense, and y'all know how that dynasty played out. Jimbo was an offensive-minded coach. And when Jimbo had good coordinators, we know how that played out, whether it was Mark Stoops or Pruitt. And obviously Taggart was an offensive-minded coach, and then Norvell's an offensive-minded coach. So historically speaking, FSU would probably go out and try to seek another offensive-minded coach. I wouldn't mind the transition to a defensive-minded coach, though. Yeah, I've been talking about Stoops for some years. I'm almost at the point where now I don't think that hire is the same. I think the time for Stoops has passed. I think if FSU, if we were talking about Norvell having a bad year and getting fired, I think you'd have to go in some a fresh look. I don't think Mark Stoops would be the answer at this point. Mark Stoops should have been the answer after Willie Taggart. That would have made all the sense in the world. But you didn't do it. And I don't know I think that time has passed. Yes, I stand on that 100%, black boy. We should have made coaching changes then. It would have been a lot easier. You would have had so much to sell. After that undefeated regular season, you wouldn't have had to pay the buyouts. Because not only did they not hire new coaches, they extended the guys that they ultimately ended up firing a year later. So you would have saved probably some money to hire some legit coordinators at that. Can't talk about it now because what's the point of talking about it now? Because it didn't happen. And everybody called me crazy when I was asking for it. But hindsight's a mug, ain't it? How much does state of Florida's new money deal play part in these new recruits? Also, did you see the article about agents? Yeah, so I talked about that, but I'll rehash that real quick. I don't know if the new money deal is paying immediate dividends right now. I could be wrong. I just don't know if that's taking immediate dividends. Not saying it won't pay dividends this year. I don't know if it made an impact on the guys you recruited over the past week and a half, or when was the last time I went live? About a week or two ago. I don't know. And as far as the article that came out, again, I don't have a problem with anything. I have a problem with the article because it's worded in a way that FSU's doing some illegal or shicey things, and they're 100% not. Florida State is simply looking out for Florida State's best interests, which, again, if you think Florida State is the only school doing this, I think you're 100% wrong. More schools will start to put verbiage in these NIL contracts, like telling these kids, like you will no longer see like these kids transferring, getting $1 million or whatever the number is. I'm just throwing $1 million out there, and then transferring. Like if the NIL collective has to be responsible for paying these players, then there's gonna be some counter. How do I word it? There's gonna be some repercussions if players decide to break contracts. Again, this is modern college football. This is gonna happen, and shout out to Florida State for trying to protect themselves, because I guarantee you they're not the only school doing it. I would 100% guarantee it. I would put any amount of money on it, and I don't have a lot of it, but yeah, I don't. All of these schools are going to be looking to protect their best interests going forward, especially with the new, money deal with the $20 million being allocated. Like, if you think the schools aren't just going to be willy-nilly paying that money, they're going to protect their interests, and they're going to protect their money. So, I think the article was BS in the way it was worded. I think the article was BS in the way it was worded. Antoine hit the nail on the head. It was written and presented as if FSU was doing some illegal stuff and that teams are salty about what. But it's going to come out that more of these NIL contracts are going to have that exact same verbiage in it. So, again, no issue with what Florida State's doing, in my opinion. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart are defensive-minded coaches. Neither. Stoops doesn't move the needle, and no to Malzahn. Yeah, Stoops doesn't move the needle anymore. I do think there was a time where Stoops would have been a big hire. But again, I think that time has passed. I think Malzahn would bring the old school football coaching back to FSU. Countermeasures, like breaking contracts, you got to pay money back, that type of stuff, Terrell. Yeah. Yeah, so the $20 million is coming straight from the schools, but the collectives will still be involved. Yes, the $20 million, the schools can allocate the $20 million for sure, but I hope you don't think that means that the collectives are no longer going to play a part, because that's just extra money, right? So I still have my $20 million that is guaranteed for me to me, right? Then I'm still going to use the collective to get any additional revenue or any additional money that I want to pour into any particular player. The NILs aren't going away. I don't believe that for a second. NILs will still be a major player. Excuse me. He says, as far as the linebackers, I think Pop gonna leave. I hope Pop should have been fired when we hired Arnett. But yeah, maybe this is Pop's last year. Hopefully. But we'll see. What's up, Almighty? Been praying for you because of the Iran small. Yeah. I appreciate that. So far, I'm not affected by that. So I appreciate that, though. What's your opinion on the recruiting? You think they stick? I think they stick. I think Mike Norvell gets the majority of his classes to stick early. That traditionally has been the case. So my question isn't, do I think now are all of them gonna stick? I mean, come on, it's recruiting. Again, I think you're just tuning in. No, sir. I talked about Jason Lopez. I said that's a recruitment that I would continue to watch. I don't think that recruitment's done. From my understanding, Miami really wanted him. He's from that way. So I would continue to recruit him. A lot of Miami people thought that he was a lock. So that tells me that, there's probably some more games to be played in that recruitment. So is everybody going to stick? Probably not. It's recruiting. But the question for Mike is going to be in December. Can he close on major targets? But I think the bulk of the class sticks because, especially if FSU has a solid season. Now, if they go 2-10 again, then everything's up in the air, right? You have a solid season, I think a bulk of the class sticks. This Bama team overhyped, in my opinion. I don't think they're overhyped. I don't think Bama's getting a lot. I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say sleeping on Alabama, but I do think there's a lot of people underestimating Alabama. Again, I'll say it again, Bama still got talent. This notion that Bama doesn't have talent, and for whatever you want to think about their head coach, I mean, that head coach got Washington to the national championship. Like, they've got a legit head coach. They still recruit top talent. They still have a roster full of Nick Saban talent. Like, no, I don't think Bama's overhyped. I don't want to say they're underdogs, but I feel like college football is kind of pushing them to the side a little bit. And Bama may very well try to go out there week one and make a statement. Matter of fact, if I was Kalen DeBoer, that's what I would do. I would say, they think Bama's done. Well, we're going to go out there week one and make a statement in Tallahassee. If I was the head coach, that would be what I would do. So I would hope nobody's sleeping on Alabama. Do you think this class can save Mike? I don't think the class is going to save Mike Norvell unless he recruits, some 5-star can't-miss prospects, which doesn't look like that's in the cards right now. Winning on the field will save them. I think that's the only thing that can save them. Win games. I don't think the class is going to save them. You got to win football games, though. I hope this year's Bama team turns into 27 FSU. Yeah, the season. The games on the field are what's going to either save or doom Mike Norvell. Did you see the Corso family is upset about ESPN's decision to do game day at Ohio State? No, I think I did see something about that. I mean, it's Texas, Ohio State, so I get why that's the game. I think, and then Florida State's coming off 2-10. A lot of people don't know. Look, as much as people think that Bama game can be a game, which it can be, right? Florida State and Alabama can end up being a pretty good game. There's probably a big chance that that could be a stinker of a game, and that Bama could go in there and walk us dry. Like, that's not out of the cards. I think from a program standpoint, speaking of ESPN or ABC, that game makes more sense than Alabama, Florida State. Texas, Ohio State, that's probably, 2 top 5 teams? Jeremiah Smith, Arch Manning, like that game sells itself. So they made the right call, because Bama and Florida State, like, you don't even have the star power, which is crazy to think of, that Bama and Florida State has no star power. But what's the star power in that game? I don't see it. Right? But Ohio State and Texas has that. I understand why they would be upset. I think you could have gave it to Corso, but from a rating standpoint, Ohio State, Texas just makes more sense. Anton says off a rating. Ohio State and Texas will both get game day this year. They should have did it for Corso. That man made... Yeah, now that is a fact. Corso made college game day. TC's maybe your star power, or Ryan Williams would be the only one on Bama's side. I won't say the only one, but he's the biggest star in the game. I don't think Thomas Castellanos is any star power. Now, maybe with his comments in the offseason, right, he's like trying to make himself into that. All the Big Ten up here saying they whipping Texas and the SEC, and they say they're the top conference now. I think Ohio State, as of right now, I would pick Ohio State to win that game. I don't see... We're going to just have to see how good Arch Manning really is. What's up, Momo? And then Michigan's got the freshman phenom over there. I think Michigan's looking to have them a bounce-back year. Can Indiana repeat that crazy season that they had last year? I think the Big Ten's got some teams to look out for. The SEC's still the SEC. Georgia's still going to be in the mix. Bama's going to be there. Georgia's going to be there. South Carolina is a major sleeper to me. Watch out for the Gamecocks, man. I don't like Beamer as a coach, but it might not matter. When you can acquire talent the way Beamer can acquire talent, his coaching might not matter. I would pay attention to the Gamecocks, man. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss is probably going to be in there. SEC still top heavy. SEC still going to be top heavy. Bama supposedly has an elite secondary on paper. That could be negated with TC's legs. Yeah, FSU flipped Lawrence Timmons' son. I think it's Jay Timmons. Is that his name? Lawrence Timmons, if you don't know who that is, first of all, shame on you. If you're a FSU fan, you don't know who Lawrence Timmons is. Shame on you. As former linebacker, Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker. His son plays DB. He was committed to Indiana, which is a weird, kind of weird that he was ever committed to Indiana in the first place. But FSU did get the flip there. Call me crazy if you want, Polk. I mean, I don't want to call you crazy. I just... saying that we get Bama isn't... it's not a stretch. I wouldn't bet money on it. I wouldn't bet money on it. That's just me. ACC just dying like an old leaf. Anyone else hyped up on being proven right about Arch? He's good, but he's not worth all the hype we've heard for 3 years. We're going to find out this year. We are 100% going to find out this year. What's Oklahoma going to do? They've been struggling for several years. Oklahoma's got the number one quarterback out of the portal. Another quarterback from Washington State. This is probably the make or break year for Brent Venables. Venables is going to have to, speaking about the SEC, I forget that Texas and Oklahoma are in the SEC. But Venables is going to have to, he's going to have to put something on the field this year, for sure. For sure. Flip, yeah, I talked about him earlier. You got Devin Carter's son, or you got Devin Carter, Dexter Carter's son. I'm already crazy. I say TC can win the Heisman. Yep, Terrell's lost his mind. Y'all pray for Terrell. He's absolutely just lost. He's gone bonkers. He's gone absolutely off the deep end. Hopefully TC can put the heart back in FSU. That was snatched from us. He's trying. To his credit, he's trying. With his comments and talking all that trash, he's trying. I'll give him credit for that. He is 100%. Hold on. He's 100% trying to bring some swag, trying to bring some, attitude. I just hope he can play. I just hope he can play. Yeah, man, y'all pray for Terrell. Man said TC gonna win the Heisman. He's lost it. Texas had no business being in the playoffs. I'll die on that hill. Bama, maybe. If you're talking about last year, it's a 12-team playoff, man. It's a 12-team playoff. So, I don't have a problem with Texas being in the playoffs. Who would you have taken out and put in the playoffs? Miami? No way. That was the only other, who? If you say Texas shouldn't have been in the playoffs, I would argue with you. Who would you put in the playoff if you're speaking about last year? I like Jason Lopez. I think that's a good fit. I'd be interested to see if we can hold on to him. I wasn't here for the wide receiver talk, but it feels like we don't have, any truly elite receivers yet. A lot of good prospects, but none of that looked like that. If you're talking about the recruits, yeah, but I don't necessarily think that that's their target. I don't think their target is, if you look at what they're recruiting at receiver, they're going for speed. Again, speed, guys who can move in space, agility, route runners. We're going for more of that, which I think is a nice compliment to Deuce Robinson, because you got Deuce for a couple years. He's not a one-and-done guy. You got Elijah Moore still. You got some other big receivers, and I'm 100% positive FSU will go to the portal again in the offseason and find them another big body receiver. So I think they're hitting the type of guys they're targeting. I have no problem with the guys that they're bringing in. And no, sir, not me. If you're talking about 2003, I said it before and I'll say it again. Texas should have been in the playoff. If you remember before that season, my playoff prediction was Florida State, Michigan, Texas, and I had Oregon. Now, Washington ended up getting in over Oregon. I almost nailed the playoff. We got screwed. And Bama doesn't deserve to be in the playoff. Bama lost at home to Texas. There's no other way around it. That's just how I feel. I don't care that Bama beat Georgia. Don't give a damn. Bama lost at home. But again, college football has proven that wins and losses don't matter much anymore. No, sir says that Big 12 was awful, and they still lost to that OU team. I get it. They lost to the OU team. They still went on the road to Tuscaloosa and beat I get it, man. They went on the road. They didn't beat Bama in a neutral site game. They didn't beat Bama. They went on the road in Tuscaloosa and won that game. In prime time, too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't disagree with you that the Big 12, wasn't good. I get all of that. But damn, man, you schedule the same reason why FSU schedules LSU is why Texas schedules Bama. So those games have to matter. You feel me? Rivalry games, hell, shit happens in rivalry games. We all know this. We all know rivalry games are not the typical game. But you schedule Bama so that game matters. The same way LSU and the eventual Heisman winning quarterback and FSU steamrolled LSU and got screwed. I'm not getting back into that. Yeah, don't want to open up old scars. Yeah, they're not going to do that because, yes, I can go on a tangent about that. But the point is, you schedule games like that for a reason. And, yeah. I wonder why we didn't play a home. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why we decided to do neutral site games for LSU. But that's what we did, and we won both of them. Oh, man. I'm going to finish this. And then I think that's it. If I can find my lighter. Oh, there it is. An hour and 30 minutes is pretty good. Especially on my phone. This thing drains my phone battery. I started off at 100. I'm down to 40%. Without 12-10 playoff, Ryan Day isn't OSU head coach. Man, he was losing 3 or 4. He was losing to Michigan every year. We look flat. I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think the offense was the same without Jordan Travis, Momo. I guess we got to talk about it. I don't disagree with that, Momo. Here's the problem. You still won. You won in spite of. You still won. You beat a ranked Louisville team to close the season. A Louisville defense that I believe was top 20. And your defense was playing out of its mind. I could make a legit argument that our defense could have won a game in the playoff. Michigan's offense didn't set the world on fire, but they ran the ball effectively and played defense. Florida State could have did that, man. And you won't convince me otherwise. our defense would have had to play lights out every game. It was. That's the point. By the end of the year, our defense was playing in my opinion, our defense was playing the best defense in college football at the end of the year. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk were unguardable. Offensive lines couldn't handle those two. Just go back and watch. Yes, it was peaking at the perfect time. If you can run the ball and play defense, you can win football games. Period. You can play defense and run the football, you can win football games. And Trey Benson and Toafili could have ran the ball effectively enough, and our defense was good enough that we could have won. Now, I'm not saying we go out there and win a national championship, but we deserve the right to have played for one. We deserve the right to get in the playoff and at least try. Our defense was that good. You talking about all levels of the defense. Linebackers. Ronaldo Green was shut down. Like, our defense, come on, man. Our defense was playing lights out at the perfect time of the year. They were playing their best football. Hell, Patrick Payton alongside those other two. Like, Joshua Farmer. Bro, our defense was... I'm speaking with logic too, though. I'm speaking with logic too. I think the only point people would have had, if FSU would have been a strictly offensive team like LSU, where Jordan Travis was so critical to the outcomes of football games, bro, for 3 or 4 weeks before his injury, our offense was stagnant as hell. But our defense was still winning football games for us. LSU was our best offensive performance. Our defense our offense got very predictable. It was run the ball and jump balls to Keon Coleman. So our offense wasn't lighting the world on fire. We weren't an offensive football team. We were a defensive football team. Our identity, even with Jordan Travis's injury, our identity was still intact. No team in the playoff was blowing that defense out. Y'all see Verse? I'm saying, Verse and Fisk is one half of the Rams' D-line. Verse and Fisk took what they did in college and went to the NFL like it was Pop Warner, bro. We went out to the NFL and started dominating too. Like, we can have the argument, and I get it. You speaking with logic and being impartial and all that stuff, bro. That defense was good enough to win a playoff game. And then you get to the national championship and anything's possible. So FSU deserved the opportunity. Offense was struggling for weeks before JT got hurt, Vontae. But yeah, it's one of the reasons why he got hurt, because the offense couldn't move the ball against, Northern Alabama or whatever team that was. So JT had to use his legs. Yeah, AZ, Farber. We had depth on the defense. Our defense wasn't out there getting gassed. Jerry and Jones. Like, man, I don't know. Our defense was doing our thing. Our Tate got a concussion. He would have been back for the playoff. The playoff started a month after Tate would have been back. All right, Almighty, take care. I ain't going to be on here too much longer either. But yeah, man. Y'all want to open up the old wounds. But I can talk about that for hours. Still the greatest robbery in sports history. That was. And outside of Washington, in the playoff, because if we get in, Bama doesn't get in, obviously. What elite offenses were there in the college football playoff that would have kept our defense on the field over and over? Like, Michigan damn sure didn't have an elite offense. Washington did. I think Washington would have been probably a bad matchup if we had to go point for point with them. And then Texas. Mm-mm. I agree, Antoine. If we were going to beat them regardless, he didn't have to be Superman, but it is what it is. Exactly. Like Yami said, we played the best offense in college football that year, and they scored 17 on us. Like, there wasn't, bro. Michigan would have shut us out, maybe. It would have been a 3-10 game. I kind of get that logic, Mr. Wolf. So if you think Washington would have been a better matchup than Michigan. I ain't even watched the last Natty. The 12-team playoff stuff don't interest me. I enjoy the playoff. Me personally, I enjoy the playoff. Ohio State just had, they went on a historic run in that playoff. They were dominant. And they paid all that money, and it paid off when it mattered. Of course. It's just giving our opinions. I think last year was the first year I rooted for Notre Dame. I wanted Marcus Freeman to win one, and I didn't want to see Ohio State win. Yeah. Yes and no. No, sir, not me. I think it's only because of the committee that we keep the value of winning. Right? Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1936. I can confidently say that nobody in this live stream was alive in 1936. And again, I'm not a Notre Dame guy, but I did want to see Marcus Freeman win one. That was me, though. Yeah, Ohio State went on a match. I mean, they just started blowing teams out. It was crazy. Secretly, I want OSU to win. OSU and Bama was the only two teams I watched going up in the Caribbean. I was low-key rooting for Oregon. They got smashed. That's what I'm saying. They got smashed. Ohio State was on a whole different level come playoff time, which was, in my opinion, that was fun to watch. And I'm not an Ohio State fan either. I could care less about the Buckeyes. But watching that team get hot the way it did, watching Jeremiah Smith be everything he was hyped to be, I thought was fun to watch. I thought that was fun to watch. Again, safe to say that in 1936, none of us were thought about, Terrell. In 1936, my mother wasn't thought about. I don't believe my grandmother was born in 36. I don't think she was born until the 40s. Do you think James Franklin does James Franklin things this year, meaning get high? Yeah, I think I spoke about that earlier, not this stream, and a few streams ago. People were saying, Penn State, and I'm like, Penn State is hyped every year. Every year, Penn State is looked at as a sleeper team or da-da-da-da. They can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. And if you can't beat those two teams, what are we talking about? I was pulling for ASU in that playoff run, too. 100%. No, sir, not me. Because I do like underdogs. I was rooting for Boise. I think we all miss watching Dalvin Cook and Ward Dunn and Devontae Freeman and James Wilder and Carlos. Those were the days. It's for games like that why I think the playoff is fun. I mean, who would have thought ASU is making is even in the conversation, but they were there at the end of it, right? So stuff like that, is why I think the playoff, to me, is fun. Top 5 QBs heading into the season. Great question. Great question. Sellers, Klubnik, that's a great question. I hate to say it, but I want to see if Lagway is as good as some people think he is, that I think he is. I think Lagway's really good. I don't know if I put him at the top 5 quarterback coming into the season, but Lagway might be up there. I know Drew Aller's getting a lot of hype. Again, that's Penn State. Not really sold on Drew Aller, me personally. That boy at Georgia, I think, is better than Brock Glenn. Brock Glenn. Who's at Miami right now. I think that's a sleeper. I think that kid at Georgia is actually pretty good. All right, Mr. Wolf, appreciate you. Again, hit that like button on the way out. That's a good question, though. SMU's got a hell of a quarterback in Jennings. Nussmeier at LSU. That's another one, yep. Yeah. Probably missing some guys. Honest opinion, do you think UM has the resources or an answer when they fire Mario? All college football fans agree he can recruit, but that's it. 4 years, 4 different DCs. I don't think they're going to fire him. Unless he has a terrible, I don't foresee them firing Mario unless he falls off a cliff. Whether or not you think he can coach or not is irrelevant. Because if you can get enough talent, which he's wholeheartedly capable of doing, he's in the ACC. which means at a minimum, Mario's winning 8 games, probably for the foreseeable future. So I don't foresee them firing Mario unless he falls off a cliff. So I don't think they'll fire Mario. He would have to really, for him to even get on the hot seat like this year, he would have to go like 7-5 or 6-6. I think I agree. I thought Genty should have been the Heisman winner, but I understand why Travis Hunter won it. He played both sides of the ball and had big moments on both sides of the ball. Well, Boise State's not even in a conversation without Genty, so I don't disagree. I hope so. Maybe one day I can do this full time. As of right now, it's just a nice little hobby I do. You would need a scandal. You would need Mario to get caught, like, doing something crazy. With Beck at Miami, you think he level up Miami or play? I don't know what the rest of that or play W. I'm not sold on Beck at Miami, and not just because he's at Miami. I believe he was a player that benefited from having that elite talent around him at Georgia. So if you're asking me, do I think Beck can elevate Miami the way Cam Ward did? No, I don't believe that. Well, I said when they hired him that he was... Here's the problem. I don't know if resources is the issue. I think the problem is if Mario can't get it done at Miami, then where do you go? Remember how Mario was billed when they hired him. He was the savior. I called him Cuban Jesus for a reason. That's how he was billed at Miami. He's the guy that the whole fan base pretty much was unanimous. That's who they wanted. That's who they've wanted for a long time. So he would have to, again, be tremendously bad, one, for them to fire him. And two, let's say they did, to your question, I don't think it's a resource problem. I think it's a who's the right fit. If Mario Cristobal ain't the right fit to win at Miami, then who is? I think that's the issue with firing Cristobal. I think that's the issue. If you fire him, then I don't know who the coach is you bring in after Mario Cristobal. But I'm gonna get on out of here, guys. Phone's about to die on me. Going on live on the phone drains the battery crazy. And Antoine, without Cam Ward, Miami was a 7-8 win team. Maybe not even. Remember how bad. You talk about how bad. Their defense was atrocious last year. Without Cam Ward, you don't beat Cal. Without Cam Ward, I don't know what Miami is. 7 to 8 wins is probably generous. Probably generous. And I don't think Beck elevates Miami, but he might not have to. He's going to have an O-line for sure. That defense is going to be a big question for Miami. and the weapons are probably a bigger question too, because no Restrepo. So we'll see how that plays out for Miami. But yeah, I'm gonna get on up out of here, y'all. Hey, I appreciate you to turn out here tonight. This is how I'll be doing my lives in the foreseeable future. Until again, I'm in my house. But I appreciate y'all, man. As always, it's your boy POLK over here on 86370 TV. Y'all stay classy, and we are out here. Go Noles. We recruiting pretty well right now, so let's keep that up. Let's get some guys in the trenches, man. Let's get some guys in the trenches. But y'all take it easy. Again, appreciate the love and support. Hit the like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Like, subscribe, and share. I'm out.